Hello, and welcome to Tracy Mommy Reads. I am back again with another book review. Today, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I got a suggestion from a commenter who said that I should consider doing like a spoiler review, a book review where it's just filled with spoilers because I'm always tiptoeing around, right, or throwing out little things. So this is your warning that this particular review is filled with spoilers, and I will tell you why. Okay, the reason why is because the book that I'm going to talk about, it eerily mirrors an actual real life incident that happened in the news. So I want to draw some contrasts and comparisons. So a lot of people are very familiar with the case. Therefore, you're going to pretty much realize and know what happens in the book. So I'm just gonna say it. Okay. The book is called, and this was also a recommendation from someone who commented. I was trying to find her name. The handle was Sweet Bitter Key, but I couldn't find the actual profile page. I don't know if she has a channel or whatever, but the book is called What Happened to Nina by Dervla McTiernan. What Happened to Nina? And y'all, this book, the entire time I was reading it, I was getting I was like, this is like deja vu. Did I read this book already, or a book just like this? And then I realized it is eerily similar to the Gabby Petito case. I don't know if y'all remember that case. And let me just back up. This book was written last year in 2024. In the Gabby Petito case, that happened in 2021. So I don't know if the author was inspired or if it was just a coincidence. But in the Gabby Petito case, there was a young woman. She was a vlogger, influencer type young woman. And she had gone on a road trip with her boyfriend, and I think they had overhauled a little camper or something, and they were going across the United States, and she was vlogging the whole time. And because the reason why we even found out about this is because, number one, she ends up deceased. And well, first she was missing. I'm getting too far ahead of myself. But this may ring a bell to you because a police officer pulled them over, and she was obviously distraught, but she didn't tell the police officer that she and her boyfriend had been getting into it, or that he had been being mean or abusive or whatever. And then the police officer, just told him to be careful and blah, blah, blah. And they went on their way. And then I don't know if it was a few days later, a few hours, or when it was, but then she comes up missing, right? And then there's this big manhunt because her boyfriend comes home. You leave with a person to go on a road trip, just the two of y'all, and you come back without them. Come on now. That's hella suspicious. I knew that from the moment they said that he had done something to that girl. And the same thing happens in whatever happened. I keep saying whatever happened to what happened to Nina. So in this book, there is a young couple. They're on a hiking trip, and the girl's name is Nina. And from the first chapter, you could you don't know, because it's from her point of view, and something happens to her where she they're going up this cliffside or whatever, and she trips or gets tangled in a cord or something, and she feels like her boyfriend, it was she asked for his help, and something he did is what made her fall. And she just had this real hair standing up on the back of her neck type moment because of the way he looked at her when it happened, right? And she just started to have all these thoughts and things that maybe had taken place before, and okay, is he somebody that I shouldn't be trusting? Did I overlook some red flags? What's happening here? So then as she goes kind of through mentally cataloging all the things that have happened, and just the way that he's treating her even after she got injured, because she's injured now, her ankle's messed up. They go back to the cabin where they're staying, and I think he leaves to go somewhere to get maybe some supplies, or maybe he's outside. I don't know where I can't remember where he went, because I actually read this one a while back. I do have some notes here, but I do remember she was going to break up with him because she like started to put two and two together, like, yeah, and he did this thing and the other thing and then this, and the way he looked at me, you know, she was like, this is going to end. I'm leaving. I'm going to leave and go back early. You know, if he wants to stay here, he can. So the chapter like goes fades to black, because like when he comes in and she says she's going to talk to him, and then that's all we get. Well, the next chapter is her mom. Like we meet her mom and her family when she learns that her daughter is missing. Okay, so the police come and they're like, yeah, you know, I'm trying to think what this boy's name is. Oh, Simon. So Simon comes back without her, and so immediately, you know, the mom is like, she was with Simon, that's her boyfriend. What do you mean she's missing? He should know where she is. And you know, she goes over to their house, and just like in the Gabby Petito case, you know, his parents are like on his side. They're protecting him because he's saying, just like this guy in the Gabby Petito case said, oh, we got into a fight and she left and wanted to be on her own. Okay. So I get that, okay, if you have a fight or an argument or whatever as a couple, and you maybe knowing your partner needs some cool down time, you let them go walk it off or sleep it off or do whatever. You don't leave them in the woods or in the mountains by themselves, you know? And if they are not back by a certain time, I don't give a damn how mad you are. You go look for them. Even if you got to be cussing and fussing the whole way, you go look for them and you bring them back, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that they're safe. So if you do end up going your separate ways, you know, people aren't looking at you like you did something, you know. But in both these people, in both the story and the real life case, the characters in the book and Gabby, the actual, you know, real person, Gabby Petito, I think they were both petite girls, or, you know, the guys that they were with were taller and broader, you know, a bit stronger than them or whatever. There's no way you're telling me that even if you had to physically restrain this person, I'm bringing your ass back to your parents because I don't want that shit on me. Like, you were helpless to make sure that this person got back safely? No, because you're lying, because you are the perpetrator. So anyway, yeah, his parents in the book, Simon's parents, totally stood up for him, and he said they had a fight, and you know how Nina can get, and we believe our son. And the mom just was like, no, what the hell are y'all talking about? This isn't even making sense, you know? So there's an investigation, and you know, throughout the book, like I think they cleared him of potentially having done anything to her because they didn't have any evidence. You know, they went back to the location where they were and all this, and they couldn't find her, you know, initially. I know in the Gabby Petito case, they ended up finding her. I don't know like where it was, but it was like some isolated, maybe by some cliffs or something, which is weird, you know? So in the book though, and I don't know if this happened in real life, because we haven't heard the guy's parents come forward saying anything like this. But in the book, what happened to Nina, Simon's parents, or his mom, you know, like, I think that most parents, if you really know your children, good or bad, you know if they're capable of doing something. You maybe have seen a little sign that, okay, if she gets mad enough, or if he gets mad enough, because maybe you have been the recipient of that. Maybe they didn't get their way and they like kicked the dog or kicked the cat. You know, like there are signs. And I think that Simon's mother, she knew something was up just by the way he was acting and he was being evasive or whatever. And she was praying that it wasn't true, because she liked Nina, you know, but at the end of the day, Simon was her son and she didn't want anything bad to happen to him. But the longer it went on where they weren't able to find Nina, she was like, Simon, you can tell me, did you do something? And he got all pissed at her because, you're my mom and you're supposed to believe me. So the deflection and the whole gaslighting thing. And I don't know how long she was missing before they realized she was actually missing. You know what I'm saying? Before they didn't buy this whole thing that he was saying about they had a fight and all this stuff. So his dad didn't want to believe it, like, this is my son. I don't think he's capable of anything like that. But then he started, the longer she went missing, he was like, okay, you could tell me. Now, if you did something, I know you probably didn't mean it, probably was an accident or whatever, I'll help you. What so the dad was coming from that point of view, like, I don't want you to have done anything to her, but if you did, I'm going to protect you no matter what. Like, really? Because if he did it once, he'll do it again, sir. But anyway, so before the police could go, which I don't understand why they didn't initially just go out there and start looking, he went and found the body, and moved it from where his son Simon, because he had killed her. He had hit her over the head with something when she came in, saying that she was gonna break up with him, and he buried her on the, like, not too far from where they were staying, which was stupid, in a shallow grave, but he put a lot of leaves and pine needles and stuff like that over it. So his dad was like, okay, that was dumb because she wasn't buried deep enough. And so he moved the body and he took it to a lake house that's like on the outskirts of where they live, but that people knew about and had connected them to, you know what I mean? And I don't know if he put chains on her or what he did to, like, put her body in the water so that it wouldn't come up. But just like in the book, what happened to Nina, and in the Gabby Petito case, the perpetrator ran. Like, Simon, like, packed a backpack and, like, went on the run, right? Like, making it very obvious that you're guilty. And his parents didn't know where he was, just like in the Gabby Petito case. This boy, took off after it was looking more and more like you had something to do with this. Just like the police were, like, looking at Simon like, you had something to do with this. And so Nina had her dad wasn't in the picture, but she had a stepdad that basically raised her since she was a little girl, right? And he loved her like, hey, that's my daughter. And when he went over to, I guess he was going to confront them, because the mom, basically, she went into a deep depression, like, not only is my daughter missing, okay, now they found her, and now we don't know the killer, and I know that boy did something to her, but nobody cares. It's like she was just disregarded, and her life didn't matter, She was just very distraught, as she, should be, or would be, anybody would be in that case. But the stepdad just couldn't let it go. So he went to the house and he saw Simon leaving, like packing up, like sneaking out, and he followed him. Mm-hmm. Simon ends up going to, like, this abandoned, because he's a hiker, so he knows, like, there's trails and stuff, and sometimes, I guess the way they made it sound in the book was like that sometimes there are these little houses or shacks or huts or whatever, hiking little places along trails where hikers can rest or, get out of the element or things like that. I guess the people that make the trails put those things up. So he went to one of those, and Nina's stepdad was hot on his trail. And they had a confrontation, and Nina's stepdad had made him confess. But, I thought, okay, he's going to record it and then he's going to, like, maybe get the police involved. But then, no, there's like a tussle, and, Simon is unalived by Nina's stepdad. But now he's like, oh my God, I've gotten justice, but he's never going to pay for his crimes. So he calls his wife, and he's like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. I don't know that I meant to do it, but he was just he didn't have any remorse, and, the whole thing. And she came just like, and this is what I felt like the irony was, just like Simon's dad came to help him, with Nina's body. She came to help her husband with Simon's body. And she said that, he ran, he disappeared, they're never going to see him again. They're never going to see him again anyway, but that's the story they want to tell themselves, and that's the story that's really going to happen, because they bought Simon's body back to their home. And as you can see on the cover here, there's an alternate cover of this, but it looks like a girl hitchhiking. I didn't get that cover. This is the cover that it was on the book when I got it from the library, so this is the cover I downloaded. But they had a farm. They were on like a lot of land, Nina's parents, and they had been doing some repairs or some reconstruction kind of in there. They had a big drive, a big what do you call it, like a big garage, a big open space. And so they broke up some of the cement, dug a deep hole, put Simon's body in it, and put the dirt back and re-cemented the thing. And people knew that they were doing construction or whatever. So this wasn't like, oh, why is that freshly poured concrete? And besides, why would anybody be looking at them? Like, they just lost their daughter. You come to accuse us of what? Like, because there was no body, there was no blood, there's nothing to connect them other than their grief and their hatred now of that boy and his family. But then the call goes out that he's missing, but they're just like, no, he's on the run. The police weren't as concerned about his welfare anyway, or his well-being. But his mother, very intuitive, because like I said, she knew her son, and at this point, she had to accept he did it because he ran. And there was just something about mother's intuition after they hadn't found him and he hadn't contacted even his dad. She was like, something happened to him. And like at the beginning of the book, Nina's mother went over, knocked on their door. Where's my daughter? Your son knows something. I know he knows something. I just need to know. I can't not know what happened to my child. And his mother, protecting her son at the time, was like, I don't know what you're talking about. He didn't have anything to do with that. I don't know where your daughter is. And, kind of like closes the door type situation. Well, at the end, his mother goes and knocks on their door, and she's like, look, I know you hate me. I know you hate my family. I can't even imagine what you're going through, but I'm beginning to feel like I will be imagining it. And I just need to know. Just, you can blink, you can, is my son still alive? And it was just so ironic because the mom, Nina's mom, kind of like cataloged how that woman was to her when she went knocking on her door about her daughter. And she didn't blink or do anything. She was just like, I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't seen him. I don't know. And she was like, please, I just need to know. And Nina's mom was just like, well, I don't know what to tell you. Why would I know where he is? And she essentially closed the door in her face. So that's kind of how it ended with, now they are going through the same thing of losing their son the same way that Nina's family did. And they, didn't seem to really have any empathy. And I just thought, just in situations like that in general, God forbid, one of my children would ever do something like that, but I can't see protecting them if I know for a fact that they're guilty. If they've admitted it, if my husband has helped them cover up something and somebody else died as a result, and that's apparent, because I would have to look at how I would feel if, if something happened to one of my children at the hands of someone else. It's just an awful, awful situation, because technically the parents, they didn't have anything to do with it. That his dad should have said something immediately when he found out the truth. So to hell with him. But like his mom, she was protecting her child, even though she had these gut feelings. But yeah, I don't know. That's a horrible, horrible situation to be in. That's a horrible situation for someone to put their family in. And it's like, I think back to, because both of these, just like with Gabby Petito and that guy, Nina and Simon, they were like in their 20s as well. And I feel like when you're that age or in that age range, especially early 20s, and you've just recently become an adult, you know, and gotten your freedom to kind of do things and live life, everything is just so like serious and so passionate and so, you know, and a lot of relationships, I mean, there are a lot of people that, you know, when they were in their 20s, they got married and they're probably still with the person, depending on how much time has passed. But most of the time, those like hot and heavy and just like all consuming and, you know, relationships when you're in your early 20s, they don't last anyway. They would have run its course. So for you to be, you know, like, number one, sticking beside someone that's abusing you, it's only going to get worse, number one. Okay. And you deserve so much better than that. And there's going to be so many other relationships that you could, you know, have if you just immediately put the kibosh on that. First time, it wasn't an accident. You didn't mean it. I don't want to hear that shit. I'm out. Because I'm not giving you a second chance to abuse me. That doesn't even make sense. And then on the other side of it, if someone breaks up with you, yeah, I can imagine that maybe your heart is broken or maybe that's your first love or whatever, but there will be others. Nobody is worth killing for or killing because you, you know, got your heart broken or your ego cracked or something. You know, let them go. Let them go. And then, you know, when you find somebody else and you're happy, then they'll realize it was their loss. But I think there's just these trigger like reactions. You know, somebody says something, you're hurt, you're going to show it because I don't think your frontal lobe is fully developed, right, in your early 20s. And you make rash decisions, you know, instead of thinking, okay, I want to punch this person in the face, but what would be the outcome of that? You know what I mean? So it's just tragic. This book was tragic. The real life case of Gabby Petito was tragic and so senseless and so unnecessary and so avoidable. So yeah, if you have read What Happened to Nina, what do you think? Were the similarities to the Gabby Petito case kind of eerily similar to what was happening in this book? I mean, there were a few things that I didn't mention, like, you know, Nina had a sister and Simon had approached her and, you know, all that. But the main bulk of the big stuff, it was so similar. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to just calmly talk about this book. I'm going to have to put it all out there. So hopefully, if you have gotten this far in the video, you have actually read the book already and you're able to see the contrasts and comparisons I made to the book. And like I said, I would love to know your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you like this video. And if you have not taken the opportunity to subscribe to my channel, go ahead and do that now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and I'll see you next week. Bye.